Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jadi gue di sini mau jelasin tentang game Fire Emblem Three Houses. Jadi dia game dari Nintendo Switch, dikeluarinnya tahun 2019. Nah, game ini cuma untuk satu player doang. Genrenya itu action, adventure, strategi lah bisa dibilang gitu. Nah, ratingnya untuk semua umur. Jadi bisa dimainin untuk anak bayi. Bayi baru lahir jigot bisa tuh.
Long ago, the
Nah,
divine
ini video
Sirius
pertama
received
kita
a
nonton
revelation
prolognya
from the
dulu.
goddess, a gift to help guide the lost. Now, the goddess watches over Fodlan from her kingdom above as the mother of all life, the arbiter of every soul.
Nah, jadi kayak catur gitu, bisa
Go ahead, give
digerak-gerakin.
me orders. It's time to measure your worth as an instructor. Such a brutal,
ada Pegasus juga tuh.
irrational world we live in. Some believe the crests, tokens of the goddess's power, are necessary to maintain order.
Jadi kayak perang zaman dulu yang pakai pedang, pakai kapak, gitu-gitu. Grafiknya sih bagus ya. Oh, bisa ngomong sama NPC juga dia. Jadi bisa komunikasi sama NPC juga.
Do you dare to walk this path with me? One misstep, and we fall to our ruin. So take your first step. It's now or never! I will return here someday, my teacher. Promise me that you won't forget me.
Nah, dikeluarin tahun spring tuh apa sih? 2019. Nah, video keduanya itu sama trailer gamenya juga. Cuman ada
Three ruling powers
lebih
control
jelasnya.
the land of Fodlan, and a conflict between their territories is all but inevitable. Representing these
Nah,
disparate
jadi kenapa
regions
dinamain
are
Three
three
Houses? Karena emang ada
houses, and soon you
tiga
must be
kerajaan
ready to
gitu.
lead one
Jadi
into
kita
battle.
bisa milih salah satu dari tiga kerajaan
As your
ini.
father, I've built you into a mercenary capable of being their professor. The only
Nah,
question
yang tadi
is,
kita pilih itu bisa jadi
which
profesor
house
atau
will you
komandernya,
choose?
pemimpinnya lah.
As a professor, your command extends from the classroom
Kita
to
bisa
the field
ngegerakin
of battle.
orang-orangnya.
Whether your students live or die will depend on your leadership. So make sure their abilities improve by assigning them real battle experience. You'd be surprised how varied your allies' abilities are, not to mention your enemies. If you've any hope of winning, get a feel for each student's stats. Then order the right units to the right locations. Remember to take in the lay of the land, note the terrain types, and carefully
Medannya
determine the
banyak,
best
ada di laut,
path to cut
ada di
forward.
lava-lava gitu.
I've at least taught you that much. Likewise, you'll recall that each weapon type has its own combat arts. These special moves greatly diminish a weapon's durability, but the extra damage dealt could be crucial. Save them for just the right moment. If you need support, your students can hire battalions, from infantry to knights to magic users. Each one can use its own version of what's called a gambit. One gambit may
Ada
affect
magic, ada
large
physical, ada
areas.
tank sama kayak
They may
ada
just turn the
komponen-komponen
tide
itulah.
in your
Tank,
favor.
magic, support segala macem. Ada kulit terbang juga segala.
So too could a linked attack, which you can trigger when nearby
Panah-panah bisa
allies
nyala.
strike.
Nah, di sini ada berserker juga. Berserker tuh yang pakai apa ya?
Keep tabs on your
Kayak pakai tangan
students,
cuman
otherwise
ada
you may
apanya
not
sih
be able
namanya?
to capitalize on them.
Kenakalnya gitu.
After all, even a gambit can benefit from a little teamwork. Together, you and your students will be stronger than you realize. Strong enough to take on supernatural forces.
Let me help you.
Waduh, ada wolf-wolfnya gitu. Monster. Kudanya bisa tembus gitu dong.
Yet, should the worst happen, you have the option, however limited, to use a divine pulse to turn back time and try again.
It contained a deplorable plot to target the Archbishop on the
bisa
day of the
komunikasi
goddess's
sama
rite
NPC
of
juga.
rebirth. We must maintain constant vigilance.
You really showed them, Teach. I would really hate to be on your bad side.
Udah skip langsung ke gameplaynya aja deh.
Professor.
Set suara kenceng juga ya.
Between its demanding tactical battles, deep class system, and social sim elements, Fire Emblem Three Houses can
Ini
seem a bit
tampilan
overwhelming.
user
If you
interface-nya.
don't know what you're doing, you and your students could be at a significant disadvantage. Here's some tips that could give you an edge in Fire Emblem Three Houses. After you pick your house, Black Eagles for life, you'll be assigned to a group of students, but eventually you'll be able to
Jadi
recruit
sistemnya
students
kalau
from
kita
other
mau perang tuh
houses.
kita harus
In order to recruit
ngerekrut
someone, you
orang
need to
dulu.
talk to them and
Jadi
complete a
misalnya
basic
NPC ini
skill
si
check.
apa namanya
If your
hawanya
bond and
support, nah
skills are
kita
high
rekrut
enough,
kalau
they
emang
will
kita
agree
nggak
to
punya
join your
support.
class.
Nah
I'd
kalau misalnya
recommend
ada tank juga
recruiting
kita
all
bisa
the
rekrut. Jadi
characters you like as
semua
soon
yang
as
semua
possible
NPC di
because
sana
there's
tuh
no
bisa kita
telling
rekrut
where they
sebagai
might
tim
end up later in the game.
gitu.
Terrain conditions can make a
Jadi
huge
sistemnya tuh di
difference in
sini
Fire
ada
Emblem.
semua
Trees
komponen
make your
perang
ground
zaman dulu,
units
ada yang
harder to
pakai
hit,
tank,
but
ada yang
decrease
pakai
their
tameng,
movement range. Standing in
kapak,
fire will
pedang,
naturally harm characters over time, and
panah,
sand makes
archer,
it really hard for your
sama
mounted
support.
units
Di
to
sini juga
move.
ada magicnya
But
juga.
there are
Jadi
ways to use terrain to your advantage.
diisi dengan sistem
Some classes, like the
magical
bishop,
gitu.
are immune to
Ada
fire,
bisa
for
nambahin darah,
example, while
nambahin
mounted
damage
units
segala
can
macam.
temporarily dismount to
Nah,
better traverse sand.
game ini juga jadi sistemnya tuh misalnya kita
These
nyerang nih
items
semua
will
tim
give you
kita,
a
misalnya
brief
tim kita ada
description
5,
of who they belong to, and you must
kepalanya dari
return them.
mana.
When
Itu
you
bisa
return a
nyerang musuh
lost
habis
item to a student or
kelima-limanya ini
faculty
nyerang,
member, your
gantian
bond with
musuh yang
that
nyerang ke
character will
kita.
increase. And if they're in
Gitu.
your class, they will gain a bit of motivation. Lost items typically appear where someone was hanging out the month before, so if you get stuck on one, think back to who might have been in the area. If you find a lost item for someone who already has max motivation, I would consider waiting to return it until after their motivation drops. It can be tough building up Byleth's skills since you can't directly teach them like you can with your students. If you do need to level up a certain skill, professors scattered around the monastery can give Byleth one-on-one lessons. However, I wouldn't worry too much about Byleth's skills when it comes to which class you should aim for. Without spoiling too much, things will fall into place eventually. Support levels and conversations are back, and they function pretty similarly to before. As you battle and bond with your students, you will unlock conversations that rank up support levels. Not only will you learn more about your students, but you'll get a stat bonus when 2 or more friends are near each other on the battlefield. So make sure to check the
Nah tadi yang
support menu often.
profesor yang tadi kita milih Three Houses itu tuh, nah ini salah satu profesor
Don't
yang
forget to
pakai
manage your
jubah
unit's
warna
abilities
merah.
before battle. As a character
Nah ini
levels up in different skills, they
ability-ability-nya.
unlock abilities
Jadi
that
ada yang pakai
correspond to
kapak,
what
ada
they've
yang
learned, like
magic,
better stats when wielding an
ada
axe,
yang
or higher
archer,
avoidance when
ada
using
yang
magic.
support,
The abilities have to be
ada yang,
manually equipped, so make sure you've
tombak
slotted
juga
in
ada di
abilities
sini.
that match the unit's
Ada yang
current
pakai
class and
kuda.
loadout before you start
Kudanya
fighting.
bisa terbang lagi.
Probably one of the most important battle tips in this video is to use ZR to see the
Jadi
range of your
nggak kayak game
enemies. When you press
strategi
ZR, you'll see
lainnya,
purple
ini lebih
outlines
seru
on
aja
tiles.
strateginya.
If a
Kita
unit
bisa
is
ngegerakin
inside one
orangnya
of those purple
kemana-kemana,
tiles, that means the
bisa
enemy
ngumpet
is
juga
within
di
reach of
rumput
your
segala
unit.
macam.
You might even want to leave this on throughout the entire battle, especially if there are Pegasus and Wyvern units on the battlefield. If you aren't sure how to spend your time during a free day in-game, I recommend sharing a meal or two with your students. This is a good way to bond with them, increase their motivation, and build up your professor level. Eventually, you'll unlock a blacksmith.
Oh, ada blacksmithnya juga. Jadi misalnya udah perang tuh pasti pedangnya rusak-rusak, kita bisa repairnya juga di sini nih. Di blacksmith ini.
Every weapon as it can eat through a lot of resources and gold, but there are
Bisa
some weapons you get later that are worth repairing.
Weapon juga
You can
kayaknya di
also
sini.
forge rusted weapons you find on the battlefield into usable weapons with some gold and materials. Fire Emblem Three Houses is a complex game, especially if you're unfamiliar with the series. But once you get the hang of it, it's a deeply satisfying tactical RPG. Hopefully these tips helped, and if you have any other tips, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for
Oke,
watching.
segitu aja review dari saya. Anjir. Terima kasih teman-teman.